Welcome, everyone. Starting to roll up in numbers here. Thank you for joining us on this Tuesday evening. Rolling up in the participant numbers. We're going to wait until we settle down a bit, and then we'll get started in just a moment. Still rising, pretty good. Okay, we're in the 70s now. Welcome, everyone. All right, let's go ahead and get started. My name is Jason Williams. I'm the vice principal here at Newton South High School. Principal Strauss can't be with us tonight. She does say hello, though. I just wanted to welcome you to this presentation near the end of for the end of the school year for seniors. We are just a few weeks away, which is crazy. Like, the culmination of all of these years of, middle school, high school, elementary school, you name it. And I'm sure it's a super exciting time for you, for your students, for everybody else involved. And we just want to make sure that prior to the end of your time with us, and as you get ready to have your student walk across the stage of graduation, that there are a few things that we just quickly talk to you about. This presentation, for those of us who are unable to make it, will be recorded and put on both the Newton South YouTube channel, and it'll be put on the graduation FAQ. I believe I sent a copy of the graduation FAQ again, like late last week, and this recording will be a part of that as well. So just to do a quick introduction of what we're going to be talking about, we just did our welcome already. You'll eventually hear from one of our PTSO co-presidents, Maggie Schmidt. She'll introduce herself at her slide. You'll hear from Kelly Fitzgerald, one of the senior class advisors, about senior class activities. You will hear from our Newton Police Youth Officer, Matt Colella, about safety in the community. And then you'll be hearing from our deans about checkout and all of the other things. And at the end, we will do a preparing to launch piece. Carrying off, let's start with Kelly with the senior prom slides.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Kelly Fitzgerald. I'm an English teacher at South, and I am the co-advisor for the class of 2024 with Sarah Millette. So I just want to review a few things about the senior prom. We're very excited about it. So Tuesday, June 4th, from 7 to 11, it's being held again this year at the Fairmont Copley Plaza downtown. Most importantly, all prom tickets, we sold prom tickets for about 6 weeks leading up until April vacation. So all prom tickets have been sold. At this point, students can no longer buy tickets, and they cannot buy tickets at the door. So I want to make sure that that is clear to everyone. I've gotten a couple of emails from parents. There are no physical tickets. The students decided to give an invitation this year as a keepsake. But we don't have physical tickets. All ticket sales were documented very closely and checked twice, 3 times, 21 times on a spreadsheet. But if you have a question about your particular student, did my student didn't buy a ticket? If you have a burning question and you need to please email either me or Sarah Millette, and we can certainly just double check the spreadsheet for you and confirm that. Students and guests, if they are bringing a guest, they must bring a photo ID to check in. That can be their Newton South ID, that can be a license, whatever ID they have, photo ID. Additionally, this is an important one. If your student is bringing a guest who is not a South senior, that guest needs to arrive with your South senior. So guests can't show up separately. All bags will be checked, typical for any school function, junior semi, 9th and 10th grade dances. All bags will be checked. If a student does arrive under the influence of any substances, they will not be allowed into the event. At that point, all of our deans are there and the administration is there, and parents and guardians will be called. There will be breathalyzers at the door. Students and guests needs to be checked in by 8 o'clock. This is a policy that we have for all of our end of the year events. They need to be checked in by 8 p.m. and they must stay until 10:30. And once they leave after 10:30, there's no reentry. So there's no kind of fluid leaving the prom and coming back in. And just so I don't sound like no fun Fitzgerald here, this is fun. The fun part is Copley is beautiful. We had the prom there last year. We've had it there many years in the past. It's just an outstanding. It's really, it's like a whole transformation, and it's wonderful to see them there. It's from 7 to 11. There will be a sit down dinner, a couple of courses, and then their dessert. There is dancing all night. We have a fantastic DJ. We have both a 360 photo machine and a photo booth. And then there is kind of an open soda, water, lemonade bar for the evening. So it will be a great event, but we do have rules. Jason, next slide. Okay, on this one, if you look at the top, and this was sent, and this is in Jason's, the graduation FAQ, but the information sheet link, which is at the top, that will give some of this information that I'm giving in case you need it afterwards. I do want to address just the getting there. The bus sign up, you all needed to sign a permission form for your student to hand in with their money for the prom. And bus signups were a part of that. So bus signups are also closed. We've already booked the bus. If your student is taking the bus, your student must be on the list, and that is both to the prom and home from the prom. I put the times on here just to give you a general idea when they need to be dropped off at South and then when they need to be picked up. Alternatively, students can get dropped off at the venue. They can take public transportation. They can valet at the venue, or they can park at a nearby garage. And I would suggest, and this is on the FAQ as well, to see the Fairmont Copley website for suggestions. Two last things, just as a friendly reminder that the prom is a Newton South High School sponsored event. Your students are still students at Newton South, so all of the conduct and behavior expectations for Newton South High School that are in the handbook still apply. And we have about, Sarah Millette and I were doing the numbers today, and we put in our final numbers for dinners. We have about 480 people coming to the prom, so it's a really big event. It's going to be a great event. Everything is ordered. The kids have worked really hard. We have worked really hard, and we're really excited about it. So the information sheet is linked above. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate. You can certainly send me an email, Fitzgerald K, and my information and Sarah's information is on the information sheet. That's it. Thank you.
Kelly, this is Caitlin Brown. There was just a question in the chat about attire and what to wear. And so if you had any recommendations on attire.
So, and that's on the information sheet as well. It just says what to wear. So formal attire, and that's going to, as we saw last year, that really ranges. So there will be, I don't need to be so gender, but there will be people there in tuxes. There will be people there in suits. There will be people there in long gowns. There will be people there, it is a dressier event. It's a formal venue. And it is a dressier evening, but that's not to say somebody has to wear a tux or has to wear a long dress. And if there is a specific question, again, please email me, but it is formal attire. Are there any other questions that came up in the chat? Okay. All right. Thanks so much.
I think that's my cue to take this one. So after the prom, when our seniors are all done at 11. If they're bus back, they get back at 11:30. The bus comes to South, and that's where the PTSO takes over. We, for the past 20 years, have been hosting a free for all seniors, regardless of whether or not your senior attends prom. They're welcome to attend the South Fest party at Newton South. And it's not a boring kind of, hang out in the cafeteria sort of party. We work really hard on this. We transform it. It is so much fun. We have vendors with food. We have a casino night. We have like some bouncy stuff. We have music. It is like, it's a blast. And we have over 400 students come. They just really, really like it. It's a great tradition. It's something the PTSO has done for a really long time. And we're really thrilled to do this. The whole goal of Southfest is to keep our seniors safe and have fun. So this is, again, promoting a substance-free evening that our students want to be at. And they really do want to be there. I guarantee you the kids are going to show up for this. Just like at prom, there's rules. The bags are checked at the door. Once you're in, you're in. You're not locked in like prom. You can leave at any time you choose, but you may not re-enter. It is chaperoned entirely by our junior class and parents, sorry, our junior class parents. So there's no senior parents allowed during the event. But hey, senior parents, please watch for some emails. We need help setting up. We need help cleaning up after. So yeah, take the day off of work because you're going to be there really late in the morning. And we're going to do one more push for some donations. This super fun party is not inexpensive. It's 100% worth it. So there's a few more things that we could use, a few more donations. You're going to get an email from us on Thursday. So watch for that. And if your senior is not going to prom, they are welcome at Southfest. It is not a ticketed event. It is free for all of our seniors. They will check in at the door. Here's some more details about that. If Kelly, if you have more information about like the specifics of the information at Southfest, that's great. And there's a question I see about clothes. And so, yes, kids are going to want to, our students, they are going to want to change out of their formal wear. Not all of them do. Some of them will hang out and party the night away in their formal wear. Some of them will change. Some I volunteered last year as a junior parent. And so I saw some kids go home first after prom and change and then come back for Southfest. We had some students that changed at Southfest. There is a bag check, which is mandatory, but it's also really helpful. So if they have a bag of clothes that they want to change into, they do not need to hang on and worry about all their special prom clothes. They will be kept safe and given back to them at the end of the evening. Deans, am I missing anything on this party? It's really fun. And PTSO is so excited to help celebrate our seniors by doing this. Kelly, anything you wanted to add that I missed?
Me, Kelly, or another Kelly?
You, Kelly. You
Um,
seem to, you're all things prom. I guess not all things Southfest, huh?
I'm not also, but I've been there and it is fabulous. It's a
It's
great,
fun.
great event. No, I'm just trying to think of recent emails. I think you covered it all in terms
Okay.
of bringing clothes, bag check. Yeah, and just encouraging people to go. And that bus will be communicating. So the bus that any student who's taking a bus to and from the prom, we communicate then with Southfest of like, it's coming, like this first group of students is coming and things. So
Oh, good.
we do communicate with that.
There's some questions in the chat. Thank you, Ben, for putting a plug for the volunteering. Like, it's really fun. And you can't volunteer during the party as a senior parent, but you can help set up. And that's when your kid's at prom, you're not going to miss anything about prom. So you can help set up and you can help clean up. And I tell you, the cleanup crew is a riot. You go home, you sleep, you set your alarm clock, you come back. Students do not need to RSVP for Southfest. We just plan that they're all going to be there because it's really fun and it's a great tradition at South. So no tickets, no sales. It's free for every single senior and any guest that goes to prom. And kids can drive themselves home after Southfest. Absolutely. Yep. It's a substance-free evening. They can park. It happens right in South. They'll enter at the main office corridor. So right at the main entrance, they'll exit and enter there. That's it. We have chaperones that are at different entrances. They can't go anywhere else. So yeah, your students absolutely can drive themselves to and from Southfest. Thank you.
How you doing? My name is Matt Colella. I'm one of the youth officers for the Newton Police Department, and I just want to kind of hit on a couple points. First, I'll start with the Assassins game that's currently going on, that all the seniors or some seniors participate in. If you could just try and talk to your child about really making sure the squirt guns look like squirt guns. In the past, there have been sometimes people have called the police department because they call in a suspicious person that they think has a gun, and we don't want to have any kind of incident where a squirt gun is being mistaken for a real gun. So the game's already been going on. As far as I know, there have been no incidents, which is great. So it sounds like everybody is following their rules, although it's not, you know, a sanctioned event. It sounds like so far there have been no issues that I'm aware of. Also, you know, just let the kids know not to be in other people's property. That's when people get nervous and call the police. And again, we just don't want to have any sort of confusion where the police are called to, you know, somebody's house where they think somebody's on their property with a, you know, a firearm. So again, we haven't had any issues so far. It sounds like everybody is doing what they're supposed to be. It's supposed to be fun. I hope they're having fun, and hopefully it stays that way. And as far as you know, I will also be in attendance at the prom. You know, keeping everybody safe, making sure, you know, everybody's sober and, you know, not under the influence of any kind of substance, narcotic, alcohol. You know, it's their night. Hopefully they, you know, they're there to have fun, and that's the way it's going to be. So, you know, they should have a great time, and, you know, I'll be there should anything occur, but, you know, the hope is that there are no issues.
Thank you, Matt, and also thank you, Kelly and Maggie, for all of the hard work that you've been doing as well. At this point, we're going to be moving on to the presentation primarily from the dean. So if you know, Maggie, Matt, and Kelly, if you folks want to head out, you're free to do that, or if you want to stick around, you're free to stick around as well. But I'm going to hand it off to whichever dean is going first with this slide.
And that would be me, Jason. Hi, everyone. My name is Caitlin Brown. I'm one of the newer deans here. I'm going to keep calling myself the new dean all year. I just want to say it's been an incredible year with your seniors. I know this celebration is not just about them, and we were able to meet with them all on Friday and talk about kind of what our expectations are for them to just really enjoy these next several weeks. They have worked very hard for the last 13 years, and we want them to celebrate responsibly and also get through what they need to get done. So I get to talk about academic obligations. So I know they're ready and the weather is nice out today, and we want to make sure that they stay focused on what they need to do academically. So the last day for seniors is Wednesday, May 29th. So they will all be in classes until Wednesday, May 29th. So if anyone tells you differently, it's Wednesday, May 29th. We will be doing a senior checkout on the 31st. And that day is really, there's a lot happening, and I will, you know, other people will talk about it too, but graduation rehearsal, luncheons, yearbook signings, a lot going on that day. So that is a mandatory day for all seniors to be there. And at that time, we will go through and make sure that we have everything we need for them so they can really relax heading into graduation. We just remind English is a 4-year credit bearing class. And so many of those classes has a final English paper. We just ask your students about that, make sure that they're on track. If they're not, or if you're worried about it or they're worried about it, please reach out to their counselors and or the deans just to make sure that we are not at the end and someone's stressed, and we can make sure they're getting that paper done. And then wellness, we have a handful, we had them raise their hands on Friday, a handful of students who are taking wellness. Again, that is another one of those graduation requirements, and they need to pass. That means they need to be in attendance, they need to be active and participating. So if you have questions about wellness and you're worried, again, please don't hesitate to check in with your counselor and or dean. So, you know, those are the academic obligations, along with going to class, staying in class, you know, really make sure they maintain their academic responsibility as they finish up their schooling here at Newton. And Jason, we can go to the next slide. So when we talk about obligations, some of you may be receiving emails from the House secretaries about things students may have owed from years past. So that's one of the obligations, is anything from the past years, uniforms, books, Chromebooks. There's a list, you know, I've been talking about it in Goodwin House to make sure that families know and understand what those obligations are, so no one's surprised. Students will be returning their books in class. Some may forget to return it in class. And so if they do forget to return it, please make sure they bring it on the 31st. And then uniforms for athletics. There might be some teams continuing competing in the spring. So we don't want them to turn in their uniform if they're still participating in athletics in the spring. But for those of you who are done, make sure those uniforms are all into athletics. And then any kind of fees that are associated, and you should know that ahead of time, what those fees would be, and that would be communicated to you. And finally, the senior graduation survey. There's a couple of surveys, and we'll talk about it in other slides, that we encourage students to do ahead of time. So I know that Goldrick House has already sent out an email to some of their staff. I'm sure other houses are. Goodwin House parents will be sending that after today's meeting, just to make sure you know the things you can do ahead of time to make everything run smoothly on the 31st. But seniors need to go into SCORE, which is for those people who have had students in the past, it's kind of like Naviance, and I'm sure you're very familiar with it as you've gone through the college process. And there's a survey that was, I think Mr. Rubin started today. So we want students to fill that out. And thank you for sharing your students with us. We really appreciate it. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Williams to talk about Chromebooks.
I almost forgot how to unmute. There we go. Thank you, Caitlin. So for Chromebooks, really one of the big things I guess like to mention quickly is that we try our best. And we've been trying our best since we did a new thing last year where we're trying to pre-check some of the things that students need to do for senior checkout, because we really want to make sure that we can get you to the part where you get to see, or a student gets to see their house secretary, they get to see their counselor, all the hugs happen. It's just like, oh my God, I finally did it, and all that other awesome stuff as quickly as possible. It's a decently sized gym that we do this in. We do this in Gym B. There are 400 plus people going through that. There are a lot of stations to go through. So we want to make sure that folks do as many things as possible before the checkout day, so you can skip several steps in the line. And this is one of those steps that, in a number of cases, might be easy for people to do earlier. So for Chromebooks, there is a Chromebook and a charger that you would have gotten at some point during your 4 years here at South. And we want to give you a few opportunities to return said Chromebook early. There will be 3 opportunities during our line block on May 14th, 21st, and 28th. Note that May 21st is an MCAS day, which will have an effect on the overall schedule, but there will be a line block that day. It'll just be a little bit shorter. You can also go to the tech office, or you can go to Mr. Hamill's office, Brian Hamill's office in the library. And seniors generally have a pretty good idea of where he is. And if they don't, go to the library. They are more than happy to help you with that. Remember that in addition to bringing the Chromebook itself, there's also a power cord that has to be brought. And if it is lost, there is the model number is over there is on the slide for what model number it is. You just make sure that you check for that. And then keep in mind that the Chromebooks will be checked for basic functionality and damage upon return. There is, in the FAQ, I believe there is a document that actually gives a schedule of fees if there's something wrong with the Chromebook. So that way there's a little bit less sticker shock when, if there is something wrong with the Chromebook. We're gonna, believe and hope that all the Chromebooks are in pristine condition. But just keep all that stuff in mind. So again, there are going to be some opportunities to return Chromebooks. If your student is just kind of hanging on to their Chromebook and not doing anything with it at this point, they're bringing their own computer to class and they're done with it, bring it in now, bring it in early, get it out of the way, because you don't want to forget about that. If your student is still using it for classes, of course, they should continue to use it. Please don't return it early just because we're saying to do so now. But just one thing to keep in mind, and I'll hand it off to the next person.
Hi, everybody. My name is Megan Martin. I'm the Dean of Wheeler House. Congratulations to you and your graduate. This is the fun presentation about all the exciting events coming up. And this is sort of the part of the webinar where we transition into talking about graduation. So graduation is a wonderful event. We're going to give you lots of information. But before graduation starts, we wanted to tell you and your graduates about an opportunity to potentially speak at graduation. So every year, Newton South High School allows one senior graduate to give an address to the school. That person does not need to be a class officer, does not need to be getting a particular GPA or be in a particular club or organization at South. Anybody is invited to audition. The student needs to sign up before May 23rd because the tryouts are actually on May 23rd during Win 3. So that would be a Thursday afternoon, basically the last section of the day. It's in the lecture hall at South. And if your graduate is interested in auditioning for that role, they can sign up on the English office door, 2305, or they can reach out to Mr. Barron, Brian Barron, who is the chairperson of the English department, and he sort of runs this audition. If you've purchased a book in advance for a yearbook, the distribution will be on May 28th during all 3 lunches in the library. So many of your graduates will have put this out and make sure that they can come and get it on May 28th. Any senior who does not pick it up on Tuesday can get it any lunch Wednesday or Thursday. And if your student is unable to pick it up during those time sessions, it'll be distributed to your student during senior checkout on the day that Caitlin just spoke about. If your student has not purchased a yearbook and would like to, they'll be on sale and for distribution during time while supplies last for $100. And the cash or the check could be made out to Newton South High School. Graduation caps and gowns. So the vast majority of students have already ordered caps and gowns, and the tassel, Miss Julie Stonehill, and that's her email address right there, is the English teacher who has volunteered to do all of this. If they have any questions about any of that, they need to get in touch with her as soon as possible. Very few need to do this. Most people already have, but please make sure they reach out to Ms. Stonehill as soon as possible. If worse comes to worse and they don't know how to get in touch with Ms. Stonehill, please tell your student to contact the dean, and we'll do our best to get them in touch with Julie. So talking about graduation caps and gowns, one thing that students asked to do a few years ago was to potentially decorate their caps. So we are allowing that to happen, but if your student is interested in decorating that cap, it has to follow certain guidelines. So here are 2 links that you can look at. Your student has already been given this in email form, and you can also see it in Mr. Williams' weekly updates on Sunday nights. And they also need to fill out a cap decoration form so that the deans can look at it to make sure that it follows the guidelines and they don't find themselves breaking a rule unintentionally. If your student arrives at graduation with a cap that is inappropriate or doesn't follow the guidelines set forth by the school, we'll simply take that from them and give them a blank cap to wear. But please, if they have any questions, have them come and talk to us. Some students have already shown us their ideas and their guidelines, and they're lovely. But we'd rather them check first versus being handed a blank one at graduation and being disappointed or upset. So what to wear at graduation? So no bare feet. You have to be wearing shoes. We would suggest wearing something comfortable on your feet. Clothing, cap, gown, and tassel are required for all graduates. Again, feel free to reach out to Julie Stonehill or any one of us if there's questions about how to get that. Just to be mindful, the gowns are not particularly thick. They're somewhat sheer. So keep that in mind when your student is choosing what to wear underneath the gown. And please remember that this is a very important celebration for everybody, and there's many, many people there. So wearing an appropriate outfit or shoes are really important. And that's it for me. On to Mark.
It is me. All right. Hello, everyone. Hello, senior parents. My name is Mark Banks. I am the Dean of Goldrick House. I am so excited to celebrate the seniors again. As Caitlin said earlier, we are reiterating it. We put it twice in this presentation that their last day is May 29th. So this will be my 12th turn with the graduating seniors, and I'm really, really excited to send them on. So with that being said, what's coming up on May 29th and after May 29th? So on the next slide, Jason, senior checkout day. So a parent had recently asked, when do you pick up caps and gowns? That will happen during senior checkout day. That is Friday, May 31st. So just keep an eye on emails about sort of a timeline of that 10:30 to 1 o'clock. But it's in Gym B. We do recommend seniors get there early, get it done. And then a lot of seniors will stick around and just sort of start signing yearbooks, but we have a whole day planned. So from 10:30 to 1, they do the checkout. At 1:15 to 2:30 is the graduation rehearsal. That is mandatory. So the senior checkout and graduation rehearsal are absolutely mandatory. Please tell your senior, put it in their phones or whatever they need to do, but they do need to be there on the 31st to participate in both the checkout, where they will receive back their cumulative folder, they'll get their hand in Chromebooks, they have to fill out some forms, take care of any obligations that are outstanding. And then we do graduation rehearsal at 1:15 in the field house, led by Dean Delicandro, who is also our graduation coordinator. So we'll take them through graduation and sort of everything they need to do on the big day, which is the following Thursday. And then afterwards is the senior lunch and yearbook signing from 2:30 to 3:30. The PTSO, absolutely awesome. They host a little lunch for the seniors, just a chance for them to get together, continue to sign their yearbooks. And then we all go outside to the baseball field. It is a long-standing tradition at Newton South that for the last 15 minutes, the students are out in the baseball field and they count down to the final bell, the true final time. They will hear that bell as seniors at Newton South. And then after that, next slide, Jason. Both of those things are optional, by the way. But we do encourage you to tell your senior, please come celebrate. It's an awesome time. And so finally, from me, the requirements at the checkout, please make sure that all obligations are taken care of. I can speak personally in Goldrick House. I know Diane Trieger, who is the Goldrick House secretary. Every time a senior walks into Goldrick House, she said, have you done your obligation? Have you gotten rid of everything? Have you handed in all your books? So we will keep reminding them and they will get them all in 12 times. They've always done it, so I'm not worried about this year. They do have to complete their final graduation survey, which Mr. Rubin, the head of guidance, who will be speaking later, sent out. So they should have that, their score survey. Return the Chromebooks. They will pick up their caps and gowns and their cumulative folders once all of the obligations are taken care of. Right, so there's a little checklist that they will go through, and then they need to fill out a name recording. The deans will be sending that out. I've been sending it out to Goldrick students just as a reminder. So every Monday, I'm going to just keep sending it to Goldrick students. And then finally, it's their final chance to pick up yearbooks. That's it from me, I believe. Yes.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ted Delicandro. I'm the Dean of Cutler House. I'm going to go over some graduation basics with you. It's Thursday, June 6th. The graduation starts precisely at 5 p.m. Principal Strauss is very good about starting on time. It is an indoor ceremony inside the field house. The ceremony will be live streamed. We do a great job of live streaming it. So if you have somebody that's far away and they want to watch it, they can do that. Graduates must arrive no later than 4 p.m. They arrive to what we consider the Wheeler Goldrick entrance. They should be dropped off. Basically, there's a one family, one car rule that we have because we have limited parking spaces on campus at Newton South, and we do not allow parking past Brandeis Road, Greenwood, and those side streets. We try to be very respectful of our neighbors during that time. Brandeis Road will become a one-way from Parker Street towards Greenwood Street. So that means the building will be on your right going in that direction. That's a one-way that starts at 3 p.m. The doors to the field house will close at 4:50. That I should go back a little bit. So we will not let anybody enter the field house until 4 o'clock. Please do not show up earlier than that. We do not want 1,000 guests standing in line at 2 o'clock. There is a lot that we have to get ready. We need to get done during that time, but at 4 o'clock, we will allow people to enter. But at 4:50, we shut the doors because that is for the graduates to enter. And we will reopen them once the graduates are seated. That's usually about 15, 20 minutes. So just be mindful of that. You will be seated before the ceremony begins as long as you get there by, I guess, 5:10. It's a special day for everybody. And we let the kids know, be respectful, kind, and supportive of their classmates. And, when people walk across the stage, I feel like this is a bigger moment for the families than the students sometimes. So I just reminded the students of that the other day we met with them. So next slide, Jason. Graduation tickets. There are 6 tickets per graduate. They receive those tickets at checkout. The location is actually correct on this year's ticket. I fixed that, by the way, this year. But if you do not need all 6 tickets, please return them to your house office. We told the students this, we're letting the families know. If you do need extra tickets, please call your house office and let them know how many you need. We cannot guarantee that we can give more. It just depends on the amount that get returned to us. Some years we can give and some years we can't. And it's really depends on when you call and when you can let us know that you do need more tickets, as it says right there. 1 car per graduate, no exceptions. We really ask you to do this. We really want to work with our neighbors, and we do not like to, fill their streets and in front of their houses with cars during that night. Parking is extremely limited. At Newton South, I think there are roughly 365 spots, maybe a little bit more. I know that we just redid some staff and faculty park over at Oak Hill Brown. There's plenty of spots over there for people to park over there as well. Next slide, Jason. As you can see, this is the traffic pattern for graduation night. If you have any questions, please reach out to your dean about parking or driving to there. Next slide. As you can see, there's parking. I don't love the map, but if you can just look at it on the right side that you're looking at, that's where most of the parking is. We ask that if you use the entrances to walk through the building, we will have people there to direct you on which way to go to get to the field house. If you need to drop somebody off that has mobility issues, you can drop off the parking lot across from the tennis courts. It's the bigger parking lot. I guess I would call that the Goodwin parking lots where the buses pick up and drop off. You can drop that person off and then we'll get you a parking spot from there. That sometimes can be done earlier. It could be better. Traffic does build as time goes. So closer to 5 o'clock that you get there, the more traffic that you will be in. Just want to put that out there. So if you have any parking questions, feel free to reach out to me directly. Again, I'm the Dean of Cutler House, and you can just shoot me an email and we can talk that through. Okay, Jason, next slide. We can skip that. The parents don't need to know what the graduates are lining up. This is the seating for the houses. On the right side of the image is where people walk in. It's away from the stage. So you walk in that entrance. On the left hand, on your immediate left will be Goodwin House and Goldrick House, and then across will be Cutler and Wheeler. And you can sit, where you like, but we usually don't fill all of our seats, and there's plenty of seating on both sides. We do have 2 big screens that we will simulcast what's going on. So don't worry about sitting further back in the bleachers. I just want to say, we at the end of the night, when the graduates have all crossed the stage and we're doing our processional, I beg the parents to please stay seated. Make a plan to meet your child outside. on the fields, and do some celebration at that point. It is a very crowded field house. The person or the traffic getting kids to proceed out. We just want everybody out of the field house before parents and families and whoever caregivers leave the bleachers. So I beg you to please stay seated until the graduates have left the building. Then you can meet your graduate outside, do the pictures, do whatever you want, whatever your heart desires out there. And so hopefully that runs smoother than years past. But just be mindful of that. Next slide, Jason. I think that might be it for me, but I don't know. And if it is, next is the great Newton South graduate himself, Mr. Dan Rubin.
All right, thanks, Teddy. We're going from the very granular details of graduation to a much more big picture perspective. In full candor, I didn't edit anything about these slides since last year. And as I was looking at them, when Mark shared the slideshow with me, I was thinking to myself, my God, every year these words actually mean something a little bit different to me. Many parents will sort of say, oh my God, where did the time go? And from your kid's perspective, what is the blink of an eye for you is their lifetime. And I was thinking back on how they're going to remember this, their senior year, and just kind of all of the things that they've lived through, and how monumental it is, and how any given year in our adult memories doesn't necessarily sort of stick out in the same way. And that kind of perspective is important as you sort of navigate this next step. Some of the emotions listed here, anxiety, excitement, apprehension, ambivalence. I thought about what year your children were born, 2005, 2006. And then I thought about where, my work was with students at that time, seeing high school students evolve over the last 18 years. One of the things that I realized is that while the specifics change, the themes remain. And, you guys might try to think back to, the world from our perspective before your kids were born. Blackberries were a thing. If that doesn't, sort of put things in perspective. But parents all the way through have had some of those same feelings of, I don't know what to expect ahead. I'm seeing sort of a different level of, apprehension from my child than I'm used to seeing. This confident kid is now feeling a little bit nervous. Maybe you're the one feeling nervous. There's oftentimes just kind of a swell of emotions as you get ready for your kids to enter into the future. And I would just offer a couple of thoughts. One is, this really is a symbolic step closer to, sort of moving side by side with you into adulthood. And, your relationship with your student is going to change. And people have probably heard me say before, nothing will inspire more confidence in you that your child is prepared for their future than, having honest, authentic conversations, seeing them stumble and knowing that they have the resources to be able to ask for support from the people around them, from their loved ones, whether that's their friends and, sort of chosen family, or, certainly you as their families of origin. Just know that, we are here to support kids to think about this theme of coping ahead. We have a couple of different resources that we really like to lean into. The Jed Foundation and their Set to Go website is one of them. They, from the perspective of young adults who, some of whom have diagnosed mental health histories and some of whom are just not at all any kind of identifying characteristics, but just dealing with life's uncertainties about what comes next. Set to Go normalizes all of that and has some great resources that can help students prepare for a transition to independent living and college life, campus life. This month, we're running some groups out of our counseling center for helping students to prepare for their transition to post-secondary life. In most cases, college, but not exclusively. So we've got some templated worksheets that we've used with students to help them come up with a resource guide for themselves. Where is the gym? Where, if I know where my dorm is already, where's that? Where are some of the local places to, go if I want to, grab a slice of pizza, or I want to, do some volunteering, whatever is meaningful and grounding in your child's life, making sure that they've sort of mapped out how do they access that in their next setting as they prepare to transition to a new normal. Lest it be entirely sort of the philosophical, just this last bullet point on here is something that I was so thankful. A few years back, Sue Battler, one of our retired counselors, shared with us just her own personal, lessons learned with her college-age children, that you may have heard this from other resources, but we like to make sure that families know it can be very valuable if you have an executed healthcare proxy or medical power of attorney for your 18-year-old and older child, if they are going to be, living away from home on campus somewhere. Once they reach that age of majority, God forbid they do experience a health crisis of any kind, it will save a lot of headaches and concerns. Even if it's a case of alcohol poisoning at the University Health Center, all the way up to, God forbid, there's something where your child is not responsive for themselves. Having that paperwork in place is something that will it will give you peace of mind. So I hate to sort of wrap on that note, but that's an important detail that Mama Sue taught us, and we have to honor her, right, Mark? So that is, the message for the night from me. Jason, I'm not even sure if there is a next slide or if it just ends there. There we go. But we're so thankful for you for joining us, giving us your attention. If you're watching this on 3x speed video, I'm going to sound like Alvin and the Chipmunks, but have a good night. Take care.
All right, so just to close out really quick also, I don't even know what I would sound at 3x speed. Please don't try that at home, folks. But one, I just wanted to quickly say, so one, thank you, Dan. Two, thank you to everybody else who presented tonight. And three, thank all of you for coming out tonight on this busy evening of yours. We know that you have a lot to juggle, and for you to take an hour of your time and be with us all sitting in our living rooms, home offices, and wherever else the heck we are is always really awesome and really special. Even if we can't feel it, it's definitely there. And, we are so proud of your students and all of the years that we've been able to spend with them, all the years that they've been in Newton Public Schools or some other school district, public school, private school, whatever. We're really at the end of a chapter of their lives. And it's like the really long tutorial stage of their lives that they're kind of ending, and they're starting the quote unquote adulthood phase, even though, they're only 18, right? Like there's still a certain feeling of like, I have to call the guardian, the caregiver, whatever, to check on this thing. I still remember the first time I got sick and my mom like hated me because I didn't call her about that. So, we're still kind of in that phase a little bit, but it's still a big step. And, no matter what your student or students are going to be doing after this, it still is a really big deal. And we're really proud of them, just as I hope you're as proud of them as well. And we do just have a couple of weeks left with them, and we want to celebrate those few weeks with them as well. But we want to make absolutely sure that while we're celebrating with them, that we're focusing on that celebration and not focusing on, trying to recover from any sort of last second mistakes or things that we kind of thought maybe was a good idea at the time, but wish we didn't do. So, I think that's also really important to stress as well. And again, as I mentioned before, thank you again for taking so much time out of your busy nights, your busy evenings to be with us tonight. Or if you're watching this on the recording, hopefully not at 3x speed, because we do not want to sound like Alvin. Also, hopefully not at slower than normal speed, because I have no idea what that sounds like for me at all. But either way, thank you for your time on this. We'll just double check to see if there's any other quick last questions. One thing that did come up that I do just want to mention quickly out loud is, and this is a common question that we get in terms of when graduation should end. We can't really put an exact pin on it. It's kind of like a baseball game a little bit, where it just depends on how long the innings last. But we generally will try our best to get this done in 2 hours or less, and that is a somewhat conservative estimate. Our fearless leader, who unfortunately could not be here this evening, is very adamant about making sure that every single one of your students is celebrated in a very meaningful way and also efficiently. So we're going to make sure that we try to get that done quickly. I know I got a question already about like, when can I make dinner reservations and so on and so forth. So again, 2 hours or less is our goal for that. I know that was a common question that came up. But anyway, other than that, if there are any other questions, there's a graduation FAQ that I pushed out. That link is still live and still active. That recording will get, this recording, sorry, will get put on that as well. And with that, it is 7:25. We want to let you folks go back to your families and back to what you were doing beforehand. I hope you have a great night, and we will see you around. Bye, everybody. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good night.